And then of course we know it goes all belly up, head up, everything up. Aunt Marge inflates and floats away. Harry leaves Privet Drive. What happens to him now? We'll do a section in this where I'll look at each of the characters in this episode. We'll do a little bit more of a deep dive. Today I'm going to be giving you my vision of how Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban should be adapted for the new HBO Harry Potter series. I feel like there's so much more rich movie magic we can have from the books, stuff that was missed out from the movies. HBO has this chance to make this really good. Today I'm going to go through each of these chapters and explain what I think the vision of the new HBO series should look like. So today we're looking at episode 1 of season 3, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This will be my vision of what I think HBO should make this series like. And I think episode 1 should start with, there's a lot more rich information in the book. So you'll see the first page starts, Harry Potter was a highly unusual boy in many ways. For one thing, he hated the summer holidays more than any other time of year. For another, he really wanted to do his homework, but was forced to do it in secret in the dead of night. And he also happened to be a wizard. Just that starting sums up basically what Harry Potter's life is like. He's been with the Dursleys for the last 3 seasons, and that's how each of the episodes start. I think that's a good starting. I like the fact we start in that normal homely environment, and in the HBO vision I'd like to see that as well. The reason for that is I've seen some leaked footage and video clips of the locations and Privet Drive, and it feels like if they use those warm homely UK locations, we should still get that vibe. When you read the book, there's a whole plethora of information that they're missing out in the movies. It's understandable, the movies are shorter, but HBO, you've got a real chance here. If this season is 10 episodes, the first 2 were 8 episodes each, but if this one is 10, we've got potential another 2 hours worth of episodes, so we can break down a lot more detail. And I'm glad you're joining me here today on the Prisoner of Azkaban's journey and my vision. So I'm going to explain the bits that I like, the bits that I want to elaborate on. I feel like there's loads of room here to improve this storyline. The book does it perfectly, but when you're reading it in your own time, just little details that stand out. For example, there's sections where Harry's reading his book with flashlight and closer to the book and read, non-magic people, more commonly known as muggles, were particularly afraid of magic in medieval times, but not very good at recognizing it. This one was amazing. On the rare occasion that they did catch a real witch or wizard, burning had no effect whatsoever. The witch or wizard would perform a basic flame freezing charm, and then pretend to shriek with pain while enjoying a gentle tickling sensation. Indeed, Gwendolyn the Weird enjoyed being burned so much that she allowed herself to be caught no less than 47 times in various disguises. And I looked at the fandom page just to find out a little bit more about Gwendolyn the Weird, the history of magic book that refers to it. During the Middle Ages, Muggle witch hunts were at their peak, and it gives you like some interesting insights into that. So I feel like they could have a little moment there to maybe explore that. Like, I don't know if it's a flashback, I don't know how, but because we're reading more information in the book than we are getting in the movies or even the new series, depending on what they do, the Prisoner of Azkaban, there's so much information that gets missed out in the movie. In the first 5 or 6 minutes is basically Aunt Marge coming in, the rainy day, umbrella given to Harry, walks in, and it's kind of like there's a lot of stuff missed before that, showing the true bit of Harry where he's struggling and he's trying to do homework which he's not allowed to do because Vernon has told him you can't have any of your magical stuff, and he's got a lot of homework to do, so it's very hard for him to be like a model student, but he still finds time under his covers to do that. So a whole little bit extra there we can play on, and even some of the characters that are involved, I feel like we can get a little bit more sense of those. We'll do a section in this where I'll look at each of the characters in this episode, and we'll do a little bit more of a deep dive. What do you think about that? In this episode, I'm giving it more informal. So in my past two ones, it was a little bit more formal. For the Philosopher's Stone and the Chamber of Secrets, I've got all of those filmed, by the way, so if you want to go back and binge watch those in one full episode, you'll see links to the playlist. So they're individual episodes, but I'll put them all together for you for easy watching. And I'll try and do the same thing for this Prisoner Azkaban as well, so you have one full big list. So I feel like the moment before Marge, the kind of little negotiation that Harry has with Vernon about, you know what, I need to go to Hogsmeade, I got my form, can you sign it for me? A little bit more that we can play on there, because there's like some negotiation taking place that Vernon says, actually, you know, if you be nice, we'll think about it. And then of course we know it goes all belly up, head up, everything up. That's a little teaser what's coming. So my favorite section is that, well, we're gonna build up to that. So when Ron's calling Vernon and he's using a phone for the first time, I think that would be a great scene to add into that, to show that he's tried to get in touch with Harry, but he couldn't do, and how Harry kind of touches on the fact that actually Hermione's more of a normal person living with Muggle parents, so maybe she should have called, and there's little things there we can play on. So that was a really nice scene that we could look at, as well as the owl scene. There's like a whole section that's missed out. Would I have that? What would you have done? I would probably have the Ron phone call scene over the owls coming, but the owls bring presents for him, so there's a little bit more interesting bits there, like Hermione sends the broom kit. Harry laughed as he put Hermione's letter aside and picked up her present. It was very heavy. Knowing Hermione, he was sure it would be a large book full of very difficult spells, but it wasn't. His heart gave a huge bound as he ripped back the paper and saw a sleek black leather case with silver words stamped across it, reading Broomstick Servicing Kit. So I can see him opening that up and like looking at intricate things. That'd be a really nice scene to have in there. And I think HBO could make that a little bit more magical. We've got more time to explore this. And I think in this first episode, we want to get a rich feel for all the details, as well as the presents coming, the phone call from Ron. There's loads of little things here that will make it even more magical, because when I read the book, I get a real like sense of you're there, you're seeing it in your mind, and I feel like if HBO does it justice, they can do this really well. And I think already we discussed quite a little bit more here than was included in the movie. So I feel like I would also put the second chapter of the book in this episode, basically showing Aunt Marge. I think it's very interesting that they did this in the movie versus the book. She's coming over for a couple of weeks, a little bit more about how mean she was. So like she kind of jabbed at Harry a number of times, and we only get one or two of those in the movie. And I feel like we need to show that, you know what, she's quite a nasty piece of work, Marge is. And she almost reminds me of like a Matilda, Mrs. Trunchbull character, like a very bully rich. And they kind of gave her the time of day to give that impression of, you know, Dursley. Vernon was very nice to her, but then the flip opposite of when he spoke to Harry, his kind of tone changes really quickly. And the build up to her coming, like how Harry said he'll be really good. Also in the book, when Marge is kind of having a go at Harry, he'll like think of other things in his mind to kind of zone out, and that's what made Marge think, you know what, he's a bit special or something, because he's glazed over in a way. So in the book, I like how they did that. So maybe having a scene or two where Marge is going at him and he's just like vacant, like what are you talking about? I'm thinking about broomsticks and cleaning kits. So that's like a really nice scene that could be in there. And also that section, the best build up of all times, Marge being inflated. I like the cup scene, where she, you know, when he does the bzzz, and the not cup, the wine glass. That was a good scene. I enjoyed that moment. and it shows how Harry's like grown up a little bit now, because he got quite angry and like he made it vocal as well. So he's a little bit more teenager, he's a little bit more unpredictable. So the movie gave us that hint, but I feel like we needed to show that it was built up to that stage. Harry didn't just go into that zone straight away by one or two comments. Like Marge really built up to him, getting him angrier and angrier slowly, and that one is a good scene. But then also as she tries to tries to tell him off basically about her parents, about Harry's parents, she'll do the like the finger blows up and then she gets all fat and then she hovers over to the sky. That one is really good, and I like the fact that as Harry's like, he's lost it basically, he goes upstairs, kicks his box, his suitcase, and he sits down, looks at the photo, and then you see that actually, you know what, he wasn't sure. He was like, he had to react because he hasn't got his parents, and she was talking ill of them. And then Harry's about to leave and Vernon kind of says, bring her back this instant. And he's like, pulls out this, you know, the wand, whereas in the book he kind of says he digs out the wand, but he's already got it and he's coming down the stairs and he scares Vernon. He leaves the house, takes the suitcase with him, and he's stranded. He's out and about. But I like, as he's walking away, if you pay attention in the movie, you'll see like Marge floating around the sky just as he's going after that scene. And then that whole scene starts where we're gonna see what happens to him. But that's really very nice bit. We can have a cliffhanger that actually Harry's out of his normal home of, you know, the last 3 episodes Dursley's has been his home, and now he's moved out of there, but he's left and he's on the roadside. And then that would be our cliffhanger. I think that's where they should stop, as in what happens next. But I'm thinking about the characters. Let's have a quick dive at the characters that were in this scene and their key traits, because I feel like in the last couple of episodes I gave you my vision, but this one I'm free flowing. I want to like just speak to you like we're having a chat and a butterbeer at the cauldron, the leaky cauldron. So let me know if you prefer this style of video as opposed to the ones I've done before. If so, I'll do more of this style. The other ones I kind of a little bit edit too much. If it was, I get rid of all the gaps and where I speak and make a mistake, whereas now I'm just gonna speak to you as we are. And let me know how you're finding these videos. I really enjoy your comments as well, so let me know in the comments if you like that. Aunt Marge inflates and floats away. Harry leaves Privet Drive. What happens to him now? So in this first couple of episodes you get a feeling that Harry is really resilient. He's under constant abuse from the family and he handles it really well. And also in this episode we find that Harry's a little bit emotionally raw. He finds it difficult to kind of control his anger. And in the book version Harry's very thoughtful and clever, because he uses special tactics to kind of zone himself out when Marge is giving him grief. He zones himself out. Also is interesting that Harry's very loyal and principled. So considering he's following the rules for the Hogsmeade thing, like getting a signature from the parents and not just signing it himself, so it's very good to show that element that he asked for it. In the character dive of this, Vernon's a little bit more interesting in this role. He's very controlling, he's very hypocritical, so he'll be like very nice with Marge, and then when he's talking to Harry he'll be very harsh. And it is clear to know that from Vernon's beliefs he kind of seems like he's very obsessed with appearances and keeping up like the right appearance for neighbours and social status for him. And Vernon's very quick to panic when things go wrong, and he's like Vernon's one of the main characters in like the mistreatment of Harry. And from Aunt Petunia, from these kind of scenes you get a feeling that she's very like cold and prim. She's obsessed with cleanliness. She's mostly silent in like the abuse towards Harry, but there's this element there that she's kind of jigging on like Vernon in terms of how it's playing out. And she's very tense around reminders about Lily. She kind of tolerates Marge with all like how nasty she is and the way she's got bad table manners and things. And it's clear to see Dudley in this kind of setup. He's spoiled, he's indulgent. How would you have treated him differently? He's selfish and food focused. He's basically motivated by rewards, because it's kind of like she hands him a 20 for being like who he is, because Marge is kind of being nice to him and all my dudders and all this stuff. Oblivious to others, so he doesn't really notice the suffering. It's just him. And he can act like a bit of comic relief in tense situations, like when Marge floats away. You get a little shot back at Dudley and he's kind of got cake on his little apron and he just kind of proceeds to eat it, even though there's lots of stuff going on, which is very rare. Like, what? Someone's floating out of the house? Aunt Marge was like very cruel. She's like domineering, and she does like dog breeding for a living, so she speaks in a different way, like similar to how you would speak about dogs, like using those analogies. She's got like an exaggerated physique, like very arrogant. She's got that, like I was saying, the Trunchbull kind of feel about her, like from Matilda. She's got that kind of vibe, and she's really obsessed by like breeding and family and quality of like lines, and similar to how you would have like a breeding of animals. So she sees it really differently. She lacks self-control. She'll say what she wants to say regardless of who's there, and that causes anger in like that kind of situation. It's also interesting about the two dogs, her bulldogs. So we've got Ripper and we've got Colonel Fobster. So these like little mirrors her temperament. They're basically like a spitting image of her if she was a dog, and also the way they act, like they're very aggressive. Even when she was floating away, the dogs were biting at Vernon's ankles, and it's like, what? You've been there for a while, you know who he is. Why is that such a thing? If you're liking what I'm doing, drop a like on this video. It really helps encourage me to carry on. And also, I'm making slightly longer versions of these now with a little bit more character dive. Do you like this version? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Or should I stick to my original that I did for the first 2 seasons? And I'd like this episode to end on this cliffhanger. Aunt Marge inflates and floats away. Harry leaves Privet Drive. What happens to him now? The next episode, we're going to get a sneak peek about this dark animal that comes towards Harry as he's out on the streets, and the night bus coming to save him. And I really like that episode section of this, so check out the next episode in this series. I'll see you on that here.